In 2025, we have many different types of handheld consoles and handheld PCs, but are they actually worth to get? And while there's different types of handheld consoles, after having used the Nintendo Switch, which has its own system, Steam Deck OLED, which also has its own Steam OS, but also something like the Asus ROG Ally, which is once again a different kind of a system. It's based on the Windows 11. So after having all those different handheld consoles, are they actually worth to get one? Well, I went into details about every single one of those consoles before, but I wanted to go over just the general topic if the handhelds are actually worth to get. But for many of us, the expectations and the reality can be two different things. So how are the handheld consoles in 2025? And I'm gonna go over all the three main systems, their strengths and weaknesses, and which one could be the best one for you, and if in general they're even for you. Before I go into just the details of the different systems and their strengths and weaknesses, I have to say that for me, the expectations versus reality is that I am primarily a gamer that likes to play on a huge screen TV. I literally play on my LG C3 TV that is maybe a hand or a little bit farther away, which is a 49-inch TV. I mostly play online games, shooters for that matter, and single player games with story. So I play, I would say, a lot of different style of games, but the one that I spend the most on would probably be a shooter online with friends. So that could be the deciding factor for me. But I'm gonna go over all the playstyle. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing for the handhelds, depending on your playstyle. The way I play games and the way I have access to them just means that handheld consoles tend to be something that I just don't have a need for. Essentially, I can play on my bigger TV, so why would I play on something smaller? Why would I play on something not as powerful as a home console like the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X? And here I'm excluding the games that are exclusive to Nintendo Switch. I'm just saying in general, why would I play on this instead of playing on a huge screen TV with a proper Pro controller? That is the reason why I spend more time on the big screen TV than on the handheld consoles. But that doesn't mean that this is not for you. For example, if you have kids and you are looking for that, 15 minutes here and there to play games, the handheld gaming PCs and handheld consoles are a great way to get into gaming without having to set up everything or not having to play on a big screen. But there comes a point where you would say that maybe playing on big screen TV could be just as quick and easy as something like this. But in general, I would say that people that want to play single player games, action adventure games, indie games, older games, and also just, if you have work, kids, or anything in your life that limits your playtime, but you could squeeze in like 15 minutes here or there to just play a little bit of something that you enjoy on the side, well, then the handheld gaming PCs and handheld consoles are incredible for that. And for that, the Nintendo Switch consoles and the Steam Deck PCs are incredible because of their really good way how they are optimized, how they are made to perform, and how these systems are great for pick up and play, where you can just press of a button, put it into sleep, put it away and get to work. But when you have that 15 minutes, you just have to click on the power button and you're back in the game exactly where you left off. Meaning that those two consoles are incredible for that kind of a gameplay. If you're somewhere that has like 15 minutes here or there, a break in work, or maybe, just you're done after work, you don't want to sit with your computer or your laptop or whatever, you want to just go to your bed and play on your bed, maybe on your couch, these two are incredible for that. But you have to remember that these two, the Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck, are just not as powerful as something like a proper gaming console. So for real high-end gaming, the best you can get is pretty much like a Windows-based gaming PC. So something like the Asus ROG Ally or the Lenovo Legion Go. It's gonna be better in terms of performance than the Steam Deck OLED and Nintendo Switch. It just is much more powerful. But there comes a lot of caveats with the Windows-based PCs. And as you can see, I'm juggling between these consoles because there's so many different things about them that make them all unique and really are made for a different kind of audience. I feel like even though they're all handheld gaming devices, they're just made for someone else. And they have their strengths and weaknesses. For example, the Asus ROG Ally is probably the strongest out of all the, handheld consoles, PCs that you can get out there at the moment. And while there are gonna be stronger devices than this, I'm gonna talk about just the ones that you can pretty much easily get your hands on. So for example, this is incredible. You can pretty much play most of the modern games, but you're gonna have to cut down on the quality. And even then, many of them are not going to perform as well as they should. For example, I wanted to play Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And by the way, if you're looking for Clair Obscur Expedition 33, you have to check out Instant Gaming. You can actually find a good deal for this game, and it's a masterpiece of a game. Instant Gaming, you can find a great deal for it. And together with Instant Gaming, we're doing a giveaway where the winner can choose the game of their choice. So if you're interested in that, check out the link down below. But coming back to the Clair Obscur Expedition 33. While I do have the Xbox Series X, it was at Evie's house, and I wanted to play it on the Asus ROG Ally. But really quickly, I noticed that even at full power, it just didn't work too good. And then when I played it on the Xbox Series X, it was a whole different ballpark. It was a steady 60 frames per second, a really good, gorgeous looking game, which just I couldn't get to run smoothly on this, without sacrificing all the quality aspects of it. But like I said, this is gonna be probably the closest you can get to a console in a handheld device. Or I should actually say that the closest you can get in terms of power, because I would say the Nintendo Switch and even the Steam Deck OLED are much more of a console than this. But let's say the idea of a handheld is something that you're interested in, which one should you go for? I'm gonna start with the first one that pretty much comes to mind, which is the Nintendo Switch OLED in this case. Well, the Nintendo Switch consoles are amazing in terms of a handheld gaming console, and when they came out, they were pretty revolutionary in my opinion, because we were used to something like the Nintendo 3DS and other smaller like PSP, but this was like a hybrid. You could play AAA games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was a huge game for a handheld like this. And while it is a great device with many amazing games, they are specific, and some people are gonna love them, some are just gonna say they're not for them. And you have to look if those games are for you. If you want to have Pokemon, Zelda, you know, that kind of titles, then this is great. But if you're looking for games that are a little bit more like the AAA genre, that are a little bit more like on consoles, for example, let's say you want to play Call of Duty, you want to play Assassin's Creed, then this is maybe not the best console to get. This is much better if you are preferring the style of games that they have, which they have many cool gimmicks, but also they are unique to this console. If you like that, this is definitely a great one to get, and I have to say it's amazing in terms of portability. It's the smallest of the handhelds. While it's big, it is small by today's standard, and it has great sleep functionality. You just have to press the button and right away you have it on where you left it off, and then you can just put it here and it's gonna go to sleep. So it's really good for pick up and play wherever you want to start with. And it's really light, the battery is pretty good, and the OLED screen is really nice. The second one that comes to mind is probably the Steam Deck OLED. It is much bigger than the Switch, and it is much more powerful than that. It also has a beautiful OLED display if you get the OLED version, which I highly recommend you do because it is a beautiful display. While it is a 900p display, it's much more than Nintendo Switch, 720p. It is an OLED display which looks really good and goes up to 90 Hz, so it's a nice step over the Nintendo Switch. It is also much bigger, and in my opinion, it is just much more, convenient and just made for your hand. It's just much better in terms of ergonomics. It just feels better in hand. As you can see, even the buttons on the back, everything just feels amazing. Even the buttons, even though they look kind of funny because they're all on the top and the analogs are on the top, I have to say that this is actually, I would have to say this is the most, ergonomic console out of all the ones that I tested. Definitely the best one. It is kind of like a mix between the Nintendo Switch and the Windows-based PCs. It has a PC base, but it's on a Linux, so more importantly, it's on SteamOS. It kind of works like Nintendo Switch, which has its own library, its own store, its own system, but you can actually do a lot more with it because it's a PC in the body of a console. Because of the way they made it, they really made it a console in a way. You can also just, with one click, turn it on, and then when you have it on here, as you can see, if you just click it once again, you can put it into sleep, bye-bye, and it's into sleep. So if you're in a game, it's really easy to stop and start. So it is, once again, like a console experience, a handheld console, which I love about it. But with this, you cannot play many of the online multiplayer games. You have to, really think about if the game you want to play is actually on it. And also, just in general, this is great for indie games. It is great for AAA games that are a little bit older, like the Batman Arkham Knight trilogy, which, by the way, on Instant Gaming, just a quick tip, I wanted it for the Steam Deck OLED, and I got it from Instant Gaming, you can find in the link below. It was literally just a couple of dollars for the whole trilogy. And the third installment, the Batman Arkham Knight, looks incredible even on the Steam Deck OLED. And like I said, this is perfect for games like The Witcher 3, the Batman Arkham Knight. The AAA games from a couple of years ago just work incredibly well on the Steam Deck OLED in my opinion. But the newer games are probably not the best for it. It isn't as powerful as the Windows-based PC. It's kind of like in between the Switch and the Asus ROG Ally or other Windows-based PCs. But it's definitely a great one if that is what you're looking for. If you're looking for Red Dead Redemption, Witcher 3, this is an incredible device. Just, you have to once again check if the games you want to play, for example, Call of Duty, that is not gonna play on it. So you are limited to the stores that you can actually play from, what you can actually turn on and play on it. And last but not least, we have the Windows-based PC. This, for example, is the Asus ROG Ally. You also have the Lenovo Legion Go, the Asus ROG Ally X. There's plenty of them. And what makes them different is while they are visually the same, they're pretty much visually like a handheld console, they're much more like a laptop or a gaming PC in a body of a console. But if you turn it on, it works exactly like a Windows 11 laptop or a PC would. So essentially, it's like a PC locked into a body of a console. While it is great and it's really cool to play on, something like this, and it opens plenty of possibilities, you have to remember that with Windows, there are gonna be ups and downs. For example, this was my first handheld PC, and while I loved the idea of it, it turned out to be not as great as I wish it was. For example, if there's multiple users that want to share a console, with the Nintendo Switch and this Steam Deck OLED, it's much more seamless. You can use different accounts and even share games between the accounts. But here, you're pretty much locked like a normal gaming PC. So if you have a game on your account but someone doesn't, well, you cannot share it unless it's a game on Steam and you have the family sharing. Other than that, it's not really convenient. Same thing with just trying to play different games by different people. For example, you want to play Forza Horizon, but if someone wants to play something else on a different launcher and those launchers are connected, there's a lot of friction between playtime and enjoying the console actually. So it's not the best if you have multiple users that want to share this console. And while this also, because it's a Windows, opens up the possibility of games like the Call of Duty Warzone, and other multiplayer shooters because it's a Windows-based PC. It is the same thing as if you had a laptop or a PC. So there's not much of a conflict there. Also, it's not as convenient to play something like Call of Duty. I thought it's gonna be cool if I'm out of the house and I'm going somewhere, but it turned out not to be that good. And also because it's a Windows-based PC, plenty of games just don't run good if you're not connected to online. A lot of times on a plane, I would have problems with playing games because the launchers would not be able to connect to online, and because of that, the game would not start, and then there's a lot of friction. And that was pretty much the main use I wanted it for. I wanted it for planes, travel, that kind of things, and it just turned out to be nothing more than like a more powerful Steam Deck, but also with a much worse battery performance. So yes, this can be great, it can be amazing for you, and you can use it like a traditional PC, you can connect a keyboard and mouse, but at the same time, is it gonna be something for you? I guess you're gonna have to decide if this works great for you. Overall, handhelds are great, but it's gonna depend on your usage. If you're the kind of person that likes handhelds, if you are the kind of person that likes that kind of gaming, and if you can actually do what you want to do with them, it's gonna really depend on your playstyle, what you want to play, how you want to play, and which console you get, because all of them are gonna have different kind of advantages and disadvantages. So you're gonna have to really pick the best one for you. With that being said, I feel like handheld consoles do have their place, but it's gonna be dependent on the user, just like with anything else. But even then, you have to remember to pick the one that just works the best for you and your usage. I personally am not using it as much as I wish I would, but it's just due to my lifestyle. But for many, these are amazing saving grace, and I feel like for many, this is the way they can get back into gaming. With that being said, if you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.